Welcome to Shadows of History. In 1808, a prince escaped death, and inherited a collapsing empire. The empire remained vast, but foreign war, provincial defiance, and janissary power weakened its center. Selim III built a new order army. The janissaries answered by deposing him. Mustafa IV took the throne, restoring neither order nor trust. In 1807, Janissary rebellion dismantled Selim's reforms and tightened military control over politics. A year later, Alemdar Mustafa Pasha marched on Constantinople, determined to restore Selim. Mustafa's supporters acted first. Selim was killed inside Topkapi Palace before help could reach him. According to the records that Prince Mahmud escaped across the palace rooftops, becoming the last available male heir. That narrow escape made him Sultan Mahmud II. Only 23, he inherited a throne guarded by men who had overthrown two rulers. Alemdar, the provincial commander who placed Mahmud on the throne, negotiated the Senedi-Ittifaq. Months later, a janissary uprising killed him, ending reform plans. Mahmud survived again. This time, he learned to wait. He concealed his intentions, studied his opponents, and quietly placed trusted men throughout government. The 1812 Treaty of Bucharest ended war with Russia, but confirmed territorial loss and Ottoman weakness. Mahmud then reduced provincial autonomy through appointments, confiscation, negotiation, and military pressure. Yet another center of power was rising within the empire. In Egypt, Muhammad Ali built a centralized administration and a disciplined modern army. Then, in 1821, rebellion in Greece grew into a nationalist and international crisis. The execution of Patriarch Gregory V intensified hostility and shocked Orthodox Europe. The revolt exposed the limits of Mahmud's old army. Poor coordination, uneven equipment, and unreliable command failed against insurgents in difficult terrain. Unable to end the revolt, Mahmud requested military assistance from Muhammad Ali of Egypt. His son, Ibrahim Pasha, arrived with trained infantry, artillery, and an organized supply system. The results gave Mahmud a lesson he could not ignore. A standardized, professionally led army was outperforming the empire's traditional forces. But British, French, and Russian intervention transformed the Greek revolt into a European confrontation. Mahmud now prepared quietly, isolating the janissaries from religious, political, and popular support. In June 1826, a new military proposal provoked the rebellion he had anticipated. This time, the Sultan was ready. He raised the sacred standard and summoned officials, scholars, soldiers, and loyal subjects. Government artillery surrounded the janissary barracks. Their resistance was crushed in the auspicious incident. The janissary corps was abolished, its political networks, property, and influence were systematically dismantled. At Navarino, European intervention destroyed much of the Ottoman Egyptian fleet. The empire had removed its old army before fully replacing it. Russia invaded in 1828, exposing the dangerous weakness of Mahmud's still inexperienced forces. He expanded the new army through standardized drill, officer training, and military schools. Defeat brought the Treaty of Adrianople, Greek independence, and a renewed drive to rebuild government. Military reform became a wider transformation of the state. Ministries and councils multiplied, schools, censuses, official dress, and a state newspaper extended central control. Not everyone welcomed these changes. Critics feared coercion, cultural disruption, taxation, and excessive central power. Then Muhammad Ali demanded Syria, and Ibrahim Pasha turned Egypt's modern army against its sovereign. Mahmud now faced the model his own reforms had followed. After Ottoman defeat at Konya, the road to Constantinople lay dangerously exposed. With Britain and France hesitant, Mahmud accepted protection from Russia, his empire's historic rival. He survived, but at the cost of deeper dependence. Still ill and exhausted, Mahmud continued building ministries, schools, councils, and a professional bureaucracy. After defeat at Nezib, Mahmud died on July 1, 1839. 16-year-old Abdulmecid inherited the crisis. His institutions survived, opening the way to the Tanzimat reforms. This was the legacy he left behind for his successor. Thank you for watching Shadows of History.